Hi there, this is Art and Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Smeagol or Gollum out of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. We're going to make what you see here. The colors I'm using are skin tone. I did a dark tan this first time. I'm going to use a lighter shade this time. Either is fine. And you can use a brown, a dark green, a gray, or either color of your choice for the little loincloth. For the hair, I'm using some gray wire on scissors, but you can use gray thread if you'd like to tie on gray thread, or even use black. For the eyes, you can use blue bands, or you can use some bulgy pearl beads. And to get the pupils on, I'm just going to use a couple of permanent markers here. So I think that's about it. You'll want a C-clip or two, a couple of holding hooks, and your loom. And we can begin with the arms and the legs. So get your skin tone ready, and we begin with 2 single bands pulled over the hook and twisted and wrapped 1, 2, 3 times. These are going to go onto 4 sets of double skin tone band. So each set will have 2 bands on it, and we're going to pull our wrapped band over and replace. Second set of double, 2, 3, and 4. I chose to make a kind of an elbow joint here so that it bends in a little bit, and I do that by making a doubled over single. If you don't want that, you can always just keep going straight. You find a stretchy band here, and that's sort of stretchy. Okay. Pull it out, twist, bring it onto itself, and slide through. And this gives it a little bit of a bend. And then I'm going to do another 4 sets of double bands. I'll place this on my holding hook, and we'll make another. We're going to go a little bit faster this time. 2 bands wrapped 1, 2, 3 times, pulled onto 4 sets of double bands. Pulled onto a doubled over band. And then pulled onto another 4 sets of double bands. And let's move this to the holding hook as well. Okay, those are our arms. For our legs, we're going to do a little longer piece at the bottom. We're using Kate Schultz's boot design. I like to refer to it as. So take how to show you this. Okay, we'll do it the sort of easier way first. Take 2 bands, wrap them 3 times, pull it onto 2 bands, replace, slide it over, and wrap 2 more bands on the end. 1, 2, 3 times. Pull the closer bands from your first set over top so that your newly wrapped ones are in the middle, and pull this onto another 2 bands. Put the other end on, and we're going to do one more time just to make this a little bit longer. 2 bands, wrap it 1, 2, 3 times. Take the closer edge from your first set, bring it over, and we're going to put this onto a doubled over single, I believe. Is that what we did here? Yeah, we're going to do 2 doubled over singles so he has kind of a narrower ankle. and put the end on. Take another single, stretch it, double it over, and pull it through. And then we're going to do 6 sets of double or 2 bands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there's one leg. We can put this onto our holding hook as well. I'm just going to pop out right above the arms. And last leg. And then we can start on the loom in our body. 2 bands, wrapped 1, 2, 3. I'm going to show you this a very slightly different way. Take 2 bands. I just find this moves a little bit faster for me, but regardless. So we've slid it over, and you're going to hold this, wrap 2 more, and replace your other end. This is exactly what we did before, it just looks a little different. Pull it over 2 more, don't replace, hold it, wrap another 2, and replace. And then this goes on to 2 doubled over singles. One and 2 and 6 sets of double bands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, this goes on to the holding hook. So we have our 4 limbs, and we can start on to the loom here. Now we begin with 2 bands from the top center to the top right, still skin tone, and 2 from the top center to the top left. If you want, at this point, you can add your hair on. If you're using thread, you might find it easier to wrap your thread piece around and tie it. I would double or triple tie it right onto these bands. But I did that the first time, and I found the threads kind of slid to the back once the looping was done. So I prefer to do the hair after the fact, but you're welcome to play around with that. From here, we're going to do 2 sets of skin tone bands, double bands, on each of the 3 rows. And then let's add 1 more set in the middle. And we're going to come in from either side with double bands from the 3rd side to the 4th center, and the 3rd side to the 4th center. Push that down just a little bit, and we can move to the neck, which we'll use 2 or 3 bands depending on your preference. I would recommend using 3 just because it'll make it a little bit firmer, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you want, you can add an extra set here to give them a longer neck. Now we take 2 bands and we come down diagonally from the 5th center to the 5th right, and 2 bands from the 5th center to the 5th left. And we're going to come down 1, 2, 3 times with skin tone bands on each of our rows. Three, 1, 2, 3, And 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's add one more in the middle, and then we're going to switch to brown or whichever color you're using for your, again, the loincloth there. We're going to come down twice on each of the rows, and using double band still. Okay, take 2 brown bands, slide one of your legs onto them, and we're going to place this onto the loom, the 3rd peg from the bottom in the center to the 4th peg from the bottom on the right side. And if you can, try and point your foot outwards in the right direction. Take another 2, and we're going to do the opposite side. I just love this pattern. I thought it was going to be a complicated one to do, and then it turned out we don't really have much to add. There aren't any tricky parts. I'm really happy with this one. Take a single, and we're going to cap off the center, the 3rd peg from the bottom. So wrap it 2 or 3 times. It's okay if it's a little bit loose. Just try and keep your bands kind of on top of each other. We're going to do a single holding band across the 6th pegs down. So let me show you what that looks like here in a second. Okay. So if you look for the second, sort of the second section that we did, the body, you're gonna go down to the second one down on the sides and the middle and make a triangle. Underneath this, we want 2 doubled over singles. So here's one, which will go onto the triangle pegs just below, and one more just under that. Okay, let's go to brown. We're going to do another doubled over single, and one more over the last set of brown bands. Hold that up for you to see. Okay. We can put our arms onto the 5th pegs down on either side. Again, this is where our body section is starting. There. And for our face, we're just going to use 2 single crossover bands. These are skin tone, so take one and pull it across the 3rd pegs down, and one goes across the 2nd pegs down. If you want to conserve your bands, you can actually skip this part and just use your eye band to hold that in place. Okay, for our ears, where did my hook go? There it is. For our ears, we want a single skin tone wrapped really tightly, so 1, 2, 3, 4 times. We're just going to take a single, double it over, slide the ear on top. I think I lost one in there. Put the other end back and transfer this onto your 3rd peg down. Do the same for the other side, single wrapped nice and tight. Put onto a doubled over single, and it will go onto the 3rd peg down on the opposite side, the right side here. I've just turned my loom around to give me better access. If you want the ear to be longer, you can always add extra, or you can wrap 2 bands to make it thicker. Alright, almost done. For our eyes, if you were using blue bands, I'll show you the band way first. You'll take a single, wrap it 1, 2, 3 times. Repeat with another single, and slide onto a skin tone band while keeping a little space between them if you can. If you're using beads with a smaller a larger hole, you can put them directly onto your hook or directly onto the band. And if you have beads with a small hole, this is another of Kate Schultz's techniques that I love. You can take a piece of dental floss or a thin wire or even a thread on a needle, and you run it through both of your eye beads, through a single skin tone band, and then you bring it back over and back through the beads from the opposite direction. Once they're on, you carefully pull until they slide onto the center of your band. And this can be placed onto your second pegs down on either side. And we aren't going to separate and secure them anywhere beyond this. You just want to kind of push them, each one a little bit over to the side. Because if we pull it down, it's going to shift it to a different part of the face where we don't want it. Alright, I think that is everything, and we can start to loop. So go to the very bottom, and underneath your cap band, you're going to look for the next top two bands, which are coming from the left side. So dig underneath, grab the next top two, and carefully slide them over to the left. Go back and bring the next two to the right, and the last ones are going to go straight up. Let me pull that down again so I can see it better. I'm going to continue up the sides, and I'm going for the sets of double bands along the bottom. So I keep the open part of my hook pointing up, press back with the back of my hook, grab the bottom two and bring it forward. And I'm going to repeat that, making sure that I push back and stay inside of these holding band triangles. When you get to the arm here, the shoulder, you want these two bands, the ones that are coming from the center up diagonally, bring them up through the rest and bring them over to the middle. We're going to come up on the side and do the very same thing on the right. Reach into the arm if you need to. You can pull it out to the side or turn your loom around or hold on to the bands that you're going to be looping from underneath here. Go back to the bottom and the center and loop straight up all the way to and including the neck bands. And there shouldn't be anything in your way as you're coming up the middle, because our triangle bands are all kind of sitting across in between. The neck band or neck bands, you want to get both of them. You want to reach through everything on top and just take those two. Make sure you get both of them, otherwise you'll have a loose band sticking out after. Reach in and find the top two, bring them to the right, and the next two can go to the left. You can see I'm kind of popping it over the ear, and that sort of saves a step later when you want to get them showing in the front. Okay, I've come up the center once, and I'm going to keep going up the center. Bring your band in between your eyes, and last time to the top. And you can loop up on either side now. Just as we did with the body, you're reaching in for the bottom two bands only. Go under that, the top peg on the side, and bring your two bands over back to the center. Come up, oops, oh, so many bands here on that third peg because we've got our ear. If you need to, you can always hold down the bands or the top of the peg while you're reaching in, like so. But I find it obscures the view a little bit. Come into the center. We're going to take a single skin tone, or two if you want to be extra secure. Stretch it out on your fingers of your left hand. With your right hand, take the open part of your hook, point it away from you, push back the bands on the top center peg with the back of your hook. Grab your band, pull it up through, and then you can turn it so that it faces up. Put the other end on and pull one side over the other to complete. Hold on to this or put it on a C-clip or put it on a hook, and you can carefully remove your golem from the loom. We'll just do our couple of finishing touches now. Alright, so he looks a little bit funny right now. We're gonna find the side that we want to be the front and pop the eyes through. Pop the ears through to where you want them, so that might mean stretching a couple of bands over where they're sitting, or it might mean turning it around the other way. I'm gonna just pop these through here actually. I like this side better. If you were doing it on the other side and the ears were already in the right place, you could always just press the eyes through to the back side, like so. Okay. We're going to hide the C-clip. Sorry, hide the securing band. So turn to the back. Put your hook under some nearby bands. Grab your loose band there and pull it through. And that can go onto a C-clip. I love these little babies. Okay, well, I'm going to pop it under a nearby band so it doesn't flip around everywhere. If you have any loose bands, you can secure them at this point too. For the hair, I'll just show you how to do one or two and you can go from there. Take your thread or your wire, cut a little piece, and you can always cut it shorter, so don't worry if it seems too long. And if it's too short, you can always cut a new one. And go under a couple of bands near the top. If you're using a thread, you might want to use a needle to get it through. If it's wire, you're just going to twist it a couple of times and angle it the way you want it. If you're using thread, you can I'll show you here with the wire as well. You can take your strand and tie a knot. So you would cross your threads, take the one that's in front, press it to the back, fold it under, and pull it through. And you can do that a couple of times so your thread doesn't slip out. On my original here, I used 4. You can do any number that you want. You can use a thin wire or a thick thread. Anything will be fine. For the eyes, you want a pretty small pupil right in the middle if you're using the beads here. Although you can play with it, you can make larger pupils, you can use a gray if you want. I'm gonna use blue as I said, so you can make it blue. He has really like a lot of blue in his eyes and just a little bit of black, but you can do it the way that you prefer. I think we're done. There is your golem, and I thank you for watching. Please be sure to check out my other Hobbit and Lord of the Rings characters and tutorials.